Hey, what's up? This is the full painting process time-lapse of this rainy street scene that I painted, with a surprising twist at the end. So stay tuned. During this time-lapse, I will try and walk you through the entire process. I'll just tell you about my thoughts, about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. As you can see, I'm making a sketch first. I use my chalk pencil brush from my sketch brush set, and I also use this pretty handy feature in Procreate that lets you make these guidelines, these perspective guidelines. You can select 3 points. You can set your horizon on a certain height, and you can have 2 extra points to make these diagonal perspective lines to help you draw street scenes like this, or any 3D thing that you need perspective for, perspective grid lines. As you can see, I made a very rough sketch first, and then I lowered the opacity of the first sketch layer, and I started making a new sketch layer on top, still using my chalk pencil brush. That's really my favorite brush for sketching, but actually during this whole painting process of the street scene, I have used that brush a lot. It has a nice chalky, that's why it's called chalk pencil, nice chalky feel, nice texture. So I like using that one. Here I'm using a more smooth brush, smooth lines to again, I have lowered the opacity of the other sketch layers, and now I'm trying to make a more definitive design, definitive structure for my buildings. And I must say, this is actually the first time I have ever drew a street scene like this. So my process is kind of messy. I was just trying things out, and just making it up as I went. So I'm making this really detailed sketch right now, but eventually I kind of let it go. So I think that next time I'll be drawing a street scene, I'd probably spend even more time on the sketch, so that I won't be tempted to ruin the whole sketch later on and just paint over it. So it is taking up a lot of time, the sketching. So you really have to be patient. It really tested my patience drawing this. I'm not really used to spending this amount of time on a sketch and really thinking things through, I guess. I'm not really used to drawing architecture, but I really want to learn. So I thought I just have to try it out. And that's what I always tell people. Just try new things out. Try drawing things that you're not comfortable with, because you can really learn a lot by trying out new things, like me drawing this street scene here. And it took up a lot of time. I actually spent like 8 hours on this particular drawing. And I'm not sure how much time I spent on a sketch, but it must have been at least an hour, or maybe even 2 hours. As you can see, I've started to add colors to the painting on a layer below the sketch layers. And I also decided to change things up a little bit. I used the free transform, the warp tool, to lower that horizon a little bit. I felt like it would look better this way. So I kind of let go of that perspective grid, I guess. And I'm not sure how to call it. I just tried things out, and yeah, I'm adding color here using a big blocking sketch brush, also from my sketch brush set. And you're still tweaking that perspective a little bit, trying to straighten that building in the back. And I just placed some random colors. I wanted it to be like bright blue and bright pinks and reds, a nice contrast between those warm and cool colors. And then it was time to zoom in and start adding more details to those buildings, to those billboards, and started using a smaller brush size, and also using the blender tool to blend some areas a little bit, making it a little bit more smooth. And as you can see, I was very fast. Yeah, it seems like the whole process is going very fast this way, but yeah, it really took a lot of time. And this is just a first pass of detailing a little bit. I remember I merged the line layer and the color layer because I wanted a nice loose style, and I wanted to kind of let go of that line layer, of those lines. I didn't want it to look too clean. So now I'm just deciding where I want what color to be, drawing in some elements. And because I'm not that used to painting street scenes, drawing street scenes, it was kind of challenging to come up with structures that look kind of logical. Oh, here you saw me add that little glow, some glow to those light boxes. What I did is I used a soft airbrush set to color dodge. That was a great way to add that neon glow to letters and to those light boxes. Here I'm making these Japanese signs. I hope I hope they make sense. I hope I studied some photos, some examples. So I hope I didn't write anything that is offending anybody. And I'm using a smaller brush, really trying to sharpen the edges where they need to be nice and clean. Drawing in some windows here. And when picking colors for areas like this, I try to pick colors that are already in the painting, because I kind of like the way the colors were looking. So I just picked colors from surrounding areas. If I needed a bluish tone somewhere, then I just pick a blue from somewhere else in the painting to keep it all unified. Again, making some symbols and picking that blue color from that board on top. And yeah, I drew in that 24 hours, but later in the process you'll see that I changed that up a little bit later. Adding a dark outline, and I'm still using that chalk pencil brush from my sketch brush set, because I don't really have, since this is my first time making a street scene, I don't have any favorite brushes yet, or favorite techniques. I was just experimenting as I was drawing, and I just like the texture of this brush, and also I can make it pretty small and draw in some details using it. Adding some decoration here. And yeah, it was really a test of patience making this drawing. And I think you can probably recognize that feeling you get when drawing, that sometimes you just yeah, it feels like you have hours and hours to go, and it feels like it'll never get done. You know that if you work hard enough, if you keep drawing, that it'll get better and better. But yeah, sometimes sometimes you really need to be patient, and that's hard sometimes. I know it is. Sometimes you just wish that you could look into the future to see the end result, to see if everything you're doing, if that'll be worth it, if it'll be worth your time. But you never know. Sometimes you just spend hours and hours on a drawing and in the end still feel like it's not exactly what you were hoping for, I guess. But so yeah, I really recognize that feeling. And I always promote to everyone that you shouldn't give up, and that you should keep trying and just continue drawing until it gets better and better. So I wasn't planning on giving up on this street scene, so I just went on for hours to keep tweaking every little part of that drawing. And for others, it's a problem to stop drawing. It can be a problem to continue when you have that moment where you're not sure if you're going in the right direction. And then there's that moment that maybe you're drawing too long and you just don't know when to quit. But maybe you've passed that point where the drawing was perfect, but you're adding too much detail and overworking it. Yeah, that's really a balance, and sometimes it's hard to figure out when to continue or when to quit. Well, not quit entirely, but when to stop drawing on a particular piece. And as you can see my finger picking up colors from surrounding areas everywhere. Adding small touches of light. And using the smudge tool to blend some areas. But why I wanted to draw a street scene is because I've seen art by other artists, but also street photography, street photographers, which I really admire. I always love that the atmosphere in those photos and those paintings that I see made by others, and I just wanna learn that. I wanna work on improving that skill, because I think it will be so much fun to create these fantasy worlds, these fantasy streets, colorful streets, because in real life I also really enjoy walking in streets like this. Strolling through a world that you don't know yet, thinking about, wondering what you'll find on the next corner, tasting different types of food in streets like this. I can imagine that in the street you'll probably find something really good, maybe some street food around the corner. So in real life I really enjoy places like this. I want to be able to draw them as well and visit them in the fantasy world, in my imagination. So that's why I decided to just go for it and just try making a street scene. It's good to sometimes just go out of your comfort zone and draw something that you have never drawn before. And it can be something that you want to learn to draw, or it can be just a practice to improve drawing your favorite subject. Because every discipline, every area of art, it can teach you something, I think. Maybe I should also start drawing something like cars or something. Maybe I'll learn something very valuable doing that. I don't know. Now, as you can see, I've darkened the edges a little bit. I used a soft airbrush set to multiply to darken the edges around the canvas a little bit, because I want the main focus to be in that center area, those buildings that are nice and warm. They have a nice warm glow, and I want the surrounding areas to look a bit cooler in the sense that they are more bluish, more cool tones. So I'll have the warm colors in the center and the cooler greenish, bluish tones on the outside. Because warm tones, they attract the eye. You tend to look at warm colors first, and also you tend to look at brighter colors first. So that's why the center of the piece, it's brighter than the outside. I also want it to be a rainy day, so I add this glow to the bottom of the painting, because when it rains the street get wet and it gets very reflective. So when there's a lot of neon lights surrounding the area, you'll see a lot of glow on the street. Those colors of the neon light will reflect on those puddles or on the wet surface of the asphalt or cobblestone or whatever. And it's not that I particularly that's a difficult word to pronounce. Particularly like rain. I actually really prefer bright and sunny days in real life, but when it comes to color and just the way it looks, rain can make a street look so pretty and so colorful. So that's why I decided to make a rainy street scene. Just adding some more light boxes and signs. Try to fill everything up. And also there are these, how do you call them? Those electricity wires hanging. And I wanted to give the scene a little figure as well. So I decided to kind of paste in this man with an umbrella to also emphasize the fact that it's raining. It'll be more clear when we have a figure with an umbrella in the middle. But you have to watch until the end of the video till you see my final piece, because this man had to go. I guess he was in a hurry and he had to leave the painting, and I decided to place something else here. But I did that after I was finished recording this video. I just couldn't stop myself. I couldn't help myself from to continue painting and continue tweaking the painting. I couldn't leave it, and it ended up a little bit different from what you'll see at the end of the time lapse. Now to add rain, the hard rain, Procreate has this really nice brush. It's called Hard Rain actually, and you can add this hard rain in your painting. A great tip is to add this rain in a different layer, in a separate layer above your piece, because that way you'll have way more control over the rain. You can decide to perhaps lower the opacity or erase some parts. And I also added some extra raindrops just by hand, also on a separate layer. And you can use the directional blur to, if you just slide down in the direction of the rain, you will get this motion blur that, that makes these drops look like rain. I thought the left side of the painting looked a little bit too empty. So I decided to come up with some more boards, some more light boxes, some more billboards to to balance things out a little bit. I was just trying things out, seeing how that would look. Darkening it up again. So yeah, I continued playing around with the painting and tweaking things, adding those electrical wires here. But like I said, once I was finished, when I thought I was finished, I kept tweaking the painting. Yeah, I just grabbed the iPad for periods of like 5 minutes, and yeah, I kept tweaking, painting, and it ended up a little bit different than what you just saw in the time lapse. Here it is. So what do you think of the new character in my scene? I hope you enjoyed watching this painting process together. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I would be happy to answer your questions. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it.